Are you ready for a prophetic adventure? Are you ready for extreme faith combined with extreme sport? This is Prayer Walk, where we follow a courageous woman that has set out to walk all across the borders of Norway to pray for the land. And yes, the nature and the weather in Norway is not tamed, so this is going to be a real challenge. And if you want to follow that journey, then I will be reporting on the real struggles, the tears, the challenges, the joys, the blessings and breakthroughs every Sunday. So stay tuned. It is Sunday and it is the 15th of October and the wind is blowing outside my window. I think it is the remnants of the hurricane that was in America recently. Janne Christine, our prayer walker, she has been focusing in on the core of the nation, the mountainy area in the center of our country. She's not done in that area, but she's done a lot there, and there's still a little bit to do. And last time, I shared how she used elements of prophetic acts and symbols and things to plant that most important tent peg in the heart of the nation. And as we walk and as we learn from this, it forms itself as an image. It starts to draw an image where it's all connected and it makes so much sense. I find that really amazing. I love it. And right now, I know that Janne Christine is preparing for another trip. There are still areas in this mountainy area that she wants to, do some work on. But she is praying about it because it's not to be done unless it is what God leads her to. So all the way doing like David, looking to God, asking, is this one a battle that I should battle? Or is there something else that you have for me? Because we are not to jump on every challenge that we get. We are only to do the ones that God wants us to take, the battles and the challenges. So that's in the process. Now we have kind of like a clear picture of what we are doing and, what Janne Christine is up to. But when we started out like 6 months ago, we were kind of like clueless. We knew we had established when we met that, okay, Janne Christine, she's going to be walking around Norway and she's going to be praying. So that we knew. But she was considering starting in Oslo. She lives at the moment in an area that is very close to Oslo. And so she had this idea that it was kind of like natural for her to start off in an area close to her. And so she was wondering, am I going to do this route from Oslo? Am I going to go the other way? And she was kind of like considering back and forth in that direction. But as we gathered for prayer the second time, I've told you earlier in the show how we met and how this project kind of like was ignited. And then we rearranged to meet again like 1 month later. And because of the big difference, like in where we are located, like it's 7 hours at least to go from one place to the other, it had to be like a month for us to manage to make that happen. But Janne Christine, she was really, really eager to do this. So she was the one driving half around the country to get to our place. And in that second meeting, we discovered a lot more of the strategy of what God wanted. And so we were just praying and declaring, and we had this good flow where one person prayed and shared images and words that kind of like was put on the heart, and then the next one would have similar words or things that built on it that was coming at the same time and just confirmed, and it would be this flow where bit by bit we gained an understanding of what God was doing. Now, in that process, I didn't know that Janne Christine was planning to go through Oslo or start there. And as I've told you earlier, I'm not the big person when it comes to geography. It's not my thing. I got a lot of other things, right? So when it comes to geography, I am a little bit clueless. But still, while we were praying, I started sharing some things that I saw. And in that process, the name Dovre came up. And that I knew was a very big mountain and, like this tremendously solid mountain area in Norway. But I wasn't sure where it was, and I didn't have the details, and I didn't know the constitution was sworn in by it. I mean, I didn't know all of these things. But the others did. And so when I shared this, it was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't Dovre, and I started seeing that, that mountain troll king, the Dovregubben, as we call it in Norwegian, that we wanted to replace him by the real king. And I kept talking about these things, and Janne Christine, she reacted. She started crying and praying, and I mean, she was all into it in such a passionate way. And I had no idea why. I just continued talking and praying, and we just kept doing the thing that we did. And then afterwards she told me that Dovre, this mountain area that I'd been speaking of, and kind of like saying that we have to start there, she told me that that was the area she'd been living in for many, many, many years, and it was what was closest to her heart, and she was longing so much to move back up in that area. Not on top of the mountain, but still in that mountainy area. I had no idea of that, and she knew that I didn't know, so when I started speaking of these things, it just hit her points. It hits her trigger points where she just knew that, wow, God is revealing something here, because it was for her as if a directive of going back home. It was as if God said, I've planted you here. This is where I've made you to be. And yes, you've had detours here and there to learn things, but this is where you belong. And this is where I want you to reside. And this is where I want you to start. And so by that, we started revealing all of these connections with Dovre Fjell. And, Janne Christine, she told about the constitution, how it was sworn in by this mountain, and it just made all sense that this king of the trolls would no longer be the one ruling us, but we wanted Christ, of course, to be our inspiration, to be our king. And bit by bit, we understood that this is kind of like the spine of Norway. It is like the core, it is like the heart, and what is ruling that area and what is going on in that area is significant for our nation, and especially because our constitution is sworn in by it. And that, in fact, we also felt like we have to do something about that, because we really want to be sworn in by God and not just by a mountain. So this was the beginning of revealing all of these connections, and now it makes perfect sense. But as I told you when we started out, we were completely clueless, and it is amazing, it is wonderful to be a part of such a journey, because even though we didn't take a step outside the door that day, we took a journey on the inside when it comes to adventure and understanding with the eyes of God, seeing things the way that He sees it. So I want to encourage you to follow leads. If you get a lead in some kind of way, trust it, and like, unless it is dangerous or against the Bible or anything, trust it and continue and seek, because we are kings in His eyes. and kings are here to seek out his mysteries. And by doing that, life becomes so much more abundant and exciting, and walking with him becomes a living thing and not just a theory. So yeah, I am sharing this as an inspiration because we are clueless until we dig and find. And those who continue digging, they will find. And God longs to speak to us. He longs to reveal things. But it is up to us to keep our focus on him and the situation or the cause or the subject long enough and with an intensity that is strong enough to kind of like cut through that superficial worldly numbness that we have down here. So I encourage you, follow the lead and go with it. Diana Christine, she was ready to just leave her house and live in a tent, have a car, an iPhone or some kind of mobile phone and a computer, her dog, a tent, and yes, that's it. But it didn't go that way. In May, she left her apartment and she was kind of like prepared to, okay, I'm going to start now. But that's not what happened. It was delays and it felt really as if it was intended. Sometimes we are just a little bit too eager, but it's not the right timing yet. And there were so many things that needed to be done before she started. Because in that process, we grew in understanding and we got a completely different strategy. There were so many things that was cleared out of the way and done as preparation to building up to what she is doing now. Nevertheless, she moved out of her apartment and instead of ending up in a tent and with her car, she ended up in a house that was really, reasonable. And so that's where she's been living for a while now, but she's not content there. When she is there, she is far away from this mountainy area and she's struggling with that. Because in her soul, she knows that she's supposed to be in the mountain area. And so she still wakes up in the morning feeling completely lost and desperate. Like, I can't stay here any longer. I have to be up in the mountains. It's like her job and her task and her identity is up here in that mountainy area, but she is stuck somewhere else. So she's having this kind of like inner battle. And as she's been working in this mountainy area and walking there and when one session is done and she has to go back to this area that is close to Oslo, she is in pain and in sorrow because she don't want to go back. She just want to be up there. Still, she has to have a place to live and there are practical things that are into this mix as well. So what has happened right now is that she has once again told her landlord that, no, I'm not going to live here any longer. So in a month from now, she will be without a place to live and she doesn't know where she's heading. But basically, she's taken everything and just given it to God and said, I can't stay here any longer. You've called me to do something. That's all I want to do. And I'm taking a leap of faith here. I say no thank you to the house that I'm living in, and I trust that you will catch me when I jump. So this is pretty exciting. She has a lot of stuff she has to put in a storage or something like that. She will sell away quite a bit of things, and she's hoping that God will open the doors for her to get a cottage or, just a small something in the mountainy area. Because even though she will be living in tents and, being like a nomad for periods of this journey, She still needs a place to wash her clothes. She still needs a place to rest in periods, and she still needs, electric sockets and things like that. She has been considering a camping sort of cottage or camping car thing. But I've been speaking to her a little bit that, I know your eagerness. You want to give everything, and I have that myself. But you're going to last for a long time in this. You can't exhaust yourself completely. You can't lose yourself so completely that you're not caring for your own body and your mental and emotional state. You have to have something that is some sort of comfort and stability, just for the practical things, so that you get a shower now and then. Just these basic things, you have to have it. And she's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know. But the desire to do what God has called her to do is so strong that it's a struggle to actually look after herself. And she says the same thing as me, that, eating and all of these kind of practical things, it's like I could really be without it. I don't feel that I have the time to do that. And I can so relate to that. It's like I'm on duty. I got stuff to do. Leave that eating thing to somebody else. I just want to be with you, God. I just want to do the things that you call me to. I just want to finish up this. I just want to, So that is radical faith. That is radical love for God, when she's not even concerned about her own body and a place to live, but just want to be out on duty. And it's not to glorify her, it is simply that the fire inside of her for God and for the task is so much bigger than anything else. So the other things, it doesn't matter. And it's a wonderful place to be, because when we are able to lose ourselves into the purposes of God, then we forget completely about ourselves and our own misery in this world. And that is a beautiful place to stay. Now, I also want to say that Janne Kristin's plan is to finish up the area in this mountainy, rangy area, and then afterwards she will be walking on a pilgrim's road, an old pilgrim's road that goes towards the west coast. It is quite far up north. It's actually kind of like in the middle of the nation, but it's far up north compared to where I am. But it is close to where she was, growing up. And from there she will probably go further up north. And we are preparing a map so that you, when you listen to this or in between the shows, you can follow that journey. You can see where she's been, and we'll put in images and possibly also videos and a little bit of descriptive text, so that you will know what happened in these different areas. So we're looking forward to that, but we're having some issues with internet connection and practical things in her end, and so I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm really looking forward to it. And so if you are listening to this and you are in Norway, or you know people in Norway, then notice people if they are living in this area towards Ålesund, which is called. Because if we can get hold of local people and local denominations in those areas, it would be a lot more powerful for Janne Kristin to have prayer sessions and interaction with those that know the local area. Anyway, that is probably something that is more relevant for the Norwegian show. But right now, I'm going to finish up this session. I am delighted to be able to share these things, and I hope that you get inspired by them. So before I sign off, I just want to give thanks to Kevin MacLeod. He's the one making the free licensed music. You can find it at incompetech.com. And I've also played some bird song, and that comes from listeningearth.com. Now I will be back next Saturday, same time, with another episode of Prayer Walk. But before that, I will be back on Saturday, same time as well, with Spirit Talk. And when I say same time, that means 10 a.m. in US Pacific time, which means 1 p.m. Eastern time, 18 o'clock in UK London, and 19 o'clock in Central Europe. If you would like to be engaged in the prayer walk, if you would like to do something similar in your area, then please send me a message on freelegions.com or go to Free Legions on Facebook and send me a message there. Because we have a program where we gather for prayer privately, but it's not private, like you can't join. It's just not broadcasted on the radio. And we gather through Skype, and we work in the areas where those who participate live. So it can involve prayer walking, it can involve tent pegs and prophetic acts. Anything of these kind of tools are possible to use in your area. And as we gather in this group, we reveal strategies, and we seek God to understand what is going on in this area. What do you want to be done here? And what kind of forces is the enemy? And that is the exact same way that the Prayer Walk project has been born. By that, I'll be gone, and I hope that you'll be blessed. Have a great week. I love you. God loves you so much more.